So welcome. So what we're going to do in this video is we are going to make and plan an assessment. So this is what you're going to do after you've talked with everyone that's teaching the course and is going to be participating in assessment, and you've decided more or less what you're going to do. Then one of you is going to need to come in and plan and distribute that assessment to everybody else. So you'll need course coordinator access for this. So if you don't have course coordinator access and you need it, you can contact your SLO lead, or if you know the person who's coordinating your department level stuff, you can talk to them as well. They can both add people as course coordinators. So once you have course coordinator access, and we're just going to go in, and as you can guess, it's going to be under SLOs and assessments because we're assessing. And then we'll go in under assessments. So this is main library where all the assessment stuff is kept. And these can get quite large. This one's a little small, so there's this filter that you can use to search for things you've already got. But I'm going to hide that, and I'm going to go in and I'm going to add an assessment. So here's the input stuff for putting in an assessment. So most of it's fairly evident. So you want to give it a name and then some kind of a description so you can remember what this was about. I don't know, we'll do something like that. And there's an option over here. This is optional, you don't have to do this, but if you want to, you can do it this way. So if you've talked about it and you have a common rubric, but everyone's doing a slightly different activity, you can have the faculty specify what their activity is and what it looks like when they're giving the information. You can also say we've all decided on the same thing, and so we're going to describe it here so everybody knows what it is. Probably not page essay, word essay. And so then you can have that built in so everybody does the same activity. So again, this is optional. You don't have to do it. This can be enough of a description. So then we're going to look at the type of assessment. So there's a large number of types, and this is really just so you can sort through assessments, and if you want to look at all the assessments that are papers or quizzes, you can do that. So you want to pick whatever it may be. So in this case, an essay would more or less be a short paper. And this guide is another optional thing. Usually we don't use it. If you were doing some kind of really complicated assessment that had instructions, you could upload instructions, but usually we just skip it. But what we really do want is we want evaluator reflections. And so we're going to check this option. And what this allows us to do is to link what are called reflection templates. So they're just sets of questions. So here I've got one that I can choose from. Sometimes there'll be more than one. And I can add these 3 questions to the end of the assessment. So after faculty have put in their results, they can answer these questions. And this is really what you want to collect, because this is where the data starts to take on meaning and context. So be sure that you add this reflection template to your assessment. And then what you're going to see is you're going to have to choose a rubric, and you're going to have 2 different choices. So there's the outcomes-oriented and the activity-oriented multi-rubric. So the outcomes-oriented is what I would call the beginners. This is the simple one. So if you're not sure what you're doing or it's kind of new, this is the one you want to choose. And you can keep all the default options here. Generally, we're only going to have 1 SLO per assessment. So we'll just generate a template. And then you're going to want to choose which SLO is this activity going to assess. So in my case, we'll say SLO 3. So we're going to put that in. Probably not the best choice, but this is all for demonstration purposes. So then I'm going to describe what mastery would look like. So I'm going to keep it simple here, but usually you'll want a little bit more detail. This is just so that I can type and talk at the same time. So you'll put in your descriptors. And these are things that you'll want to have talked about with your faculty beforehand, because this is where you want to make sure that you have a common dialogue about what does mastery look like objectively for this assessment. So once you put these in, then you're good to go. Now if you want to, if for some reason you have like an essay where you're assessing for 2 different SLOs at the same time, you could put a second SLO in and a third, and you could keep going, but I'm going to stick to just one. So this assessment is designed to just look at 1 SLO, and I've just got a general description of what performance on this outcome looks like at each level. So then I'm going to go into Save and Plan. And sometimes this takes just a little bit of time. Okay, so now I'm in the planning interface, and this looks a little bit more intimidating than it really is. So all I need to do here is, right here is the assessment I've just created, and this is actually a drag and drop interface. So I can just drag this here, and then I can drag it to the course or the section. And so since it's an assessment, I'm going to want to drag it to down here. This box right here represents all of the sections of this course, in this case Chem 2A, that are offered during summer 2016. So by dragging this down here, I'm just telling eLumen we want to put this assessment, we want to give this to everybody who's teaching this course in this term. All right, so then it pops up and it says exactly that. So we're going to plan that all the sections are going to do this assessment in this course in this term. And if you want, I recommend not doing this at this point. You'll want to wait until you've really got an assessment that you're comfortable with. There is an option to just keep this moving forward from semester to semester, but I probably wouldn't check this right now. So the alerts are turned off right now. So we're not going to use alerts. It'll just flash away on its own. And then we just click confirm. And we have a successful distribution. And I can check that because I am faculty. So I'm going to go in here. And you should be able to see the assessment here. Now, in my case, I'm not actually teaching during that term, so I won't see it. But if I were, I would see it listed as one of the assessments in my library. So that's doing it the outcomes-oriented rubric. I just want to go back really quick and also show you the more complicated rubric, because a lot of times you'll have a rubric for an assignment that you like that has multiple criteria, so it's a little bit more complicated. So I'm going to create a new assessment as a course coordinator. All right, so we'll just add an assessment. And if I were to make the activity-oriented multi-rubric, we'll come in here and then generate the template. And now, when you link the SLO, you can link it, and then you can have different criteria. So this is critical thinking. I could put, this is their argument. And then another part of critical thinking is using evidence effectively. And, I could have other things that go here. And then I could describe the performance of each of these as well. And so I could keep going through here. And once I filled out these, I can click Save and Plan again. So this rubric is, as I would say, a little bit more advanced. It's if you have an outcome or an assignment that really you need to break it down into multiple pieces and look at each piece separately, eLumen will allow you to do that, and you can put them all under the banner of a single outcome. And if you really want, you can do multiple outcomes with multiple criteria. So that's where you're really getting crazy. So most of the time we're probably going to want to keep it to either one outcome with one description or one outcome with broken down into multiple pieces with multiple descriptions. So that's how you create assessments and how you give them to faculty so they have them to do. So if you have any questions, just be sure to contact your SLO lead and have fun with assessment.